I have decided something.
What have you decided?
I have decided
that
When we're born, we have a mommy and daddy, right? And then when we grow up and get married, we have children of our own. And then our children grow up and get married and have children. And so on and so on. So it's very important and very fun also to have sex.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I don't get it. Oh, yes.
Hey, it's Miranda, and you're listening to Interesting Sex, a podcast about who, how, where, and why we fuck. When you have a second, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, and subscribe and follow us. If you have any interesting sex stories or you want to be on a guest on our show, please go to InterestingSexPodcast.com and let me know about who you are, and maybe we'll have an interview. Today, our guest is really super rad. He's like a mega awesome artist named Tom Hill, and he does needle art. So I really recommend, before you listen to this episode or while you listen to it, going onto Instagram and checking out Carnival of Curiosity. What he does is he makes needle art. Well, he does lots of really rad shit, but one of the things is needle art, where he actually puts a person with either hypodermic needles or piercing needles like in lines throughout them, and then connects those needles to strings and connects that to something else. So you see like a still person with needles coming through them, with the lines coming out of them, making this really intense, erotic, beautiful, evoking piece of art. He does it live, but he also takes really cool pictures of them as well that you can find on his Instagram, Carnival of Curiosity, or check him out. His name is Artist Tom Hill. So, being said, that's what he does for his work and his art. He is also a very kinky man, so we talk to him about a bunch of stuff. We talk about needle play, we talk about medical play, we talk about kink in general, we talk about cooking. We have a lot of fun this episode. So I hope you are excited to be here, because I am excited to have you. And let us no longer wait. Let's open our ears, our hearts, and our holes and give a nice, warm welcome to artist Tom Hill.
Hello?
Hello, is this Tom?
Yeah, this is Tom speaking.
Hey, Tom, this is Miranda calling from Interesting Sex Podcast.
How's it going?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so glad that we found you.
Oh, thank you for getting a hold of me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. First of all, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Tell us like who you are as a male, sexually, on the planet. Who is Tom?
Well, I'm Tom Hill, and I am a straight male living in Seattle, an artist and a maker and creator. I guess in the kink world, I go by the handle of the Carney, or the _ Carney if you type it all out. Yeah, I incorporate kink into my art, or art into my kink, kind of thing.
Cool. So tell me about what you do.
All right, so back in Chicago, I was producing these shows along with Carnival of Curiosity and Chaos, which is my company name. I was producing these odd spectacles where people could come to a theater or to a venue and see a 2-hour-long show that was not only just a thing you sat to see, but also was more of an experience that happened. So it was interactive. Not only was it visually stimulating, but also it played around with the other senses. We always had something involved where there may have been some smells associated with things. Like we had pig carcasses in one of the show. We did branding in the show, so you'd smell the burning flesh.
Of people or of the
yes.
animals?
Of people, and it was done live. It was interactive, and so like the fourth wall was gone. People would be up on the stage area, almost kind of like validating what they're seeing, and it was just this crazy, unusual show. And I teamed up with this one performer who had a piercer that does hook suspension, and so then I started incorporating hook suspension into my shows. We ended up working out a partnership where he taught me about hook suspension, body piercing, body modification work. And in exchange, I taught him all the safety procedures and practices, and best safe practices for rigging and knots and things like that. And so we worked out this trade back and forth.
What's rigging?
And rigging is to be able to lift something or pull or hold, the apparatus of how to get someone off the ground
Okay.
and make them fly. Okay. It led from us learning off of each other to then touring with different tattoo conventions all over the country. Eventually that partnership dissolved and I continued on doing hook suspension independently under still the Carnival of Curiosity and Chaos.
But you just started as a piercer?
So in terms of learning how to do what you see in my work, yes.
Yeah, that's how you got introduced to everything in the first place.
Well, in terms of what you're seeing in my artwork, but not fetish or the kink world, I've been into that since a teenager.
Okay.
Now, a friend of mine who's a pro dom was interested in hook suspension, but yet felt that she wasn't ready to do it and was trying to figure out a different way with me in terms of how can she experience something like this without having to leave the ground, without having to have hooks put in her. And of course, the natural thing is like, well, let's do an energy pull, which is just putting a couple hooks in, and the person at their own leisure can yank or tug or pull on it to kind of get the feel of what it is with the skin stretching. And it's all at their own pace. But again, it was the whole thing of the hooks are too big.
So
I
put
was
hooks
fearful
in
of
the
that.
people, and then they can start pulling
Pull.
themselves up?
Yeah, well, not off the ground, just pulling.
Just
Again,
pull.
like having like a fixed object that they're attached to on one end, and then pulling or tugging, or having another person on the other end and play kind of like tug of war. Okay, there was that fear behind it, and so we started incorporating needles instead, which are a lot smaller, less likely to scar, less intimidating, and I started attaching some line to the needles and using the same kind of rigging plate that helps disperse or separate the lines for when I do a hook suspension. I was using all the same materials, except the person would never leave the ground, and it was just pulling just enough tension evenly across the skin. And that was the eureka moment of, oh my gosh, I think I have something here. And so she entrusted in me to allow me to do a whole bunch of different other random tests and pieces on how to make these tension, all about the rigging. The importance of all about the lines, the space in between the person, had nothing to do with about leaving the ground, trying to make them bleed or try to hurt them. It was all about using the body as an anchor point and playing around with how these lines can disperse or spread around. And little by little, other people started asking questions about it. I typically build them three-dimensionally, so the rigging points or the line anchor points are coming in all directions, giving the lines themselves an opportunity to kind of crisscross or pull back or move forward or weave into each other, depending on the angle you look at them. Now I just keep, inventing new apparatuses to use as my anchoring point, and to have people begging for times and sessions with me and opportunities to do a needle piece project with me.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be in a needle piece project.
Yeah, it's one of those things like
it's really beautiful. I don't know if they want to do it because it's like just such a beautiful piece of art, or if it's because they want to feel the feelings, or both. But I just think it's really beautiful.
I think it's a combination of both. Also, a lot of people, after having a needle session with me, typically are like, wow, I've never sat that long so still in my life. And it's freeing to them.
How long does it take?
The shortest session I can do is like 45 minutes to an hour. The longest one I've ever done was 4 hours. And then when I showcase this work publicly live in different venues, I set up the piece, I pierce the person, set up all the lines in the rigging, and I let the person sit there as long as they wish. And when they're ready, we have different kinds of signals and little cues. We don't ever talk to each other. I get the little signal, and the piece is over, and they're taken out of it. And little by little, the lines are all pulled apart. So it's pretty beautiful to watch it being constructed, them remaining there to be seated in that position for however long they want to, and then the dismantling part. Audience members have sat there for hours and hours on end just watching them sit and be still. There's a lot of talk of this peaceful energy that's exchanged between. I also see it as these lines are radiating out of the body. I'm tapping into the different psyches, and there's this amazing connective energy that ends up happening that people speak of, whether they're the ones inside the piece or watching.
Once they have the needles in them, like they can't move or it'll hurt probably, huh?
Once the needles are in, they're not that uncomfortable. It's when the lines are put on there, because I'm connecting them to their, again, connecting them into a position. Any subtle movement or adjusting that happens with their body, one, could potentially make the tension pull a little bit harder in that area, or the tip of the needle poke them. But the other thing that is kind of cool that happens is when they adjust or shift themselves slightly, the lines also vibrate. So any small little movement that the person makes while they're in the structure, it amplifies out and kind of ripples outward. I'm not the one that coined this term. The idea of that, what I'm doing is creating body harps.
Oh, that's a cool thing. Like, now that you're doing this, is there anything else you ever want to do, or you're like, this is what I want to do forever? It's so neat.
I mean, right now, I want to be making more of these publicly. I want to be able to travel all over the world to showcase it and to expose people into this type of play, because it's connective. It's energy based. Also, too, like, I'm working with needles.
Yeah.
Some of which are, straight piercing needles, and others are like hypodermic needles with a hub on the end. And if you really think about it, the tool that I'm using is a needle. And a lot of people have like these fears and phobias of going to the doctor. Where with these pieces, everyone that's in them willingly and voluntarily came forward and said, I want to do this. And I'm using the same instrument that's used to heal at the doctor's office. I'm using that to kind of heal the person's like psyche or their this inner energy, because the needles are going through like fascia layer. There's that whole thing of fine tuning and tapping into something, just like with acupuncture. There's this fine tuning that happens, and so there's like a lot of correlation between like this as a healing kind of experience and a recentering or reworking of the body.
Do you reuse needles?
No, never.
I'm just kidding.
That's gross.
I know, I was kidding.
It's really gross. Yeah.
That's good old needle humor.
Not something I want to share. I mean, some people get off to this really, because they tap into like blood play with this, as well as liking to pierce like just the genitals or very sensitive areas. People want to do it for an adrenaline rush.
So people that are turned on by this experience, okay, say they're like, hey Tom, can you please come over and I'll pay you to put needles in me, and then they come, or like how does that happen?
It does happen.
They just like come.
Yeah, I've had people in terms of with hook suspension. I had this one woman when I was in Texas doing an event down there. She had 4 hooks in her back. We were lifting her off the ground, getting her ready to lift off the ground.
How big are the hooks?
8 gauge.
Okay.
They're not as thick as a pencil.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. She was about ready to leave the ground, and when we guided her off the ground, she exhaled this moan and ended up orgasming and squirting and gushing all over the floor. And the joke was that I'm her Hitachi, because every time I would suspend or have suspended her, she would orgasm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I guess you don't know that's your thing.
You don't know that until
you try it, right?
Right.
Does it make you feel really sexy when
I
that
love
happens?
It. Yeah, it's one of those like, that was unexpected and that's awesome. A little perk. Yeah, I get contacted for all kinds of things, like from doing needle stuff to like medical play to like cuttings and scarifications and brandings and all kinds of different kind of like body modification. That the surprising part is like they're normal looking people when I meet them face to face, and then they want something pretty extreme done. There's this fascination.
Have you ever taken out a liver?
No, I have not taken out a liver. That would be breaking the laws.
Can you tell me what you've taken out for people? Have you ever taken off a testicle?
No, I have not taken out a testicle before.
Is that illegal?
I would have to look into that. But not like removed, did splittings of like the clitoral hood and split the hood open. So then it exposes the clit. removing enlarged labia, splitting a tongue, removing like small like cysts off the skin or ticks like off the skin. Just
So people
my
will call you and ask you,
hey, can you do this for me? Yeah, but also it's like one of those things. I'm not sure how serious to take some of those inquiries because sometimes I think that they're just looking to get their rocks off to listen to something scientific happening or talking about, and the idea of having this done is more of the fantasy for them than the actual doing it. So there's a lot of like long process before I actually commit to doing some kind of project where, because
right,
when you do any kind of piece like that, you're not going to get it back, and once something's like that is gone, it's gone. I want to make sure that you're okay with that and have really thought it through. And it has to be under their own free will.
can you numb yourself?
It's illegal to inject a person's body with any kind of like numbing. You need to have a medical license for that.
So you just rub cocaine on it?
No, no. This is that whole thing also too of like like part of it is that ritual of I'm putting myself into this because part of it too is that process of that pain and how do you process it. And speaking of pain, I think there's like 3 different types of pain when it comes to like kink: pain for pleasure, and where you can process it and it feels good and it's mentally stimulating or physically or sexually stimulating. Then there's pain for pain's sake, where again you can mentally process and work through it and help you bridge a gap with it mentally. And then there's this other one of annoying pain. And when it comes down to annoying pain, it's always going to be annoying. You're never going to mentally get past it. So a great way to kill a scene would be switch it to annoying pain, and like right there, the other party is going to call your safe word or ask you to stop or whatnot, and it just kills the momentum of something. And so understanding that line of pain for pleasure or pain for pain, how to keep and navigate that and not tap into the annoying pain is kind of fun to kind of explore.
Do you like pain for pain? Or
Yeah, I think there's a part of it where it's part of that ritual of like you have to process it and work through it. And I think there's something to it, and it's healing in and of itself. There's something for you to go and be able to mentally be like, I processed this, I worked through this, I overcame this, and I've succeeded past it. And so now I know that my limit could be pushed further.
I think some people get confused in general about people wanting pain pushed at all. I mean, I think it's like some people don't get BDSM at all, any sort of pain at all. That's all.
Why do you think that?
I don't know, but I feel like, I don't know. Maybe because it's scary.
I think a lot of it has to do with you making that deciding factor.
Me?
No, people, just whoever's participate, whoever.
Right.
Yes, you.
Me?
But no, whoever's participating in it. It's
Right.
like you're making that choice. Whereas, like, I mean, how much shit do we deal with every day? And it's like, why am I putting myself through this? When you are the person on the outside looking in at that, it's like, yeah, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't like that, or you shouldn't put up with that. But why are we in the same situation in a like everyday kind of thing that we can work past that or either sit in that shit or get out of it? But like with BDSM and kink, it's all like I'm making the choice for this. I'm choosing to consent. I know or I'm figuring out where my limits are and how far I want to go and where am I willing to explore and how far. And again, with the trusting, partner or partners to dabble in it and figure that out. It's also saying, I want to discover different parts of me, and it's wrong because society says it's wrong. It's okay to think. It's like you're thinking differently and processing differently, and what does that feel like? I mean, as a kid too, like the whole idea of the stove is hot, fire's hot, fire's hot. You touch it, you realize, oh, it is hot, and then you do it again, and then it sinks in like, whoa, I don't like that. It's not that fire's bad. It's hot. It'll burn you. We need fire. And the same thing of like, whoa, kink is bad. Kink is bad. But when you try it, it's like, well, really not that bad. But it's useful in under certain circumstances or what you're trying to explore and figure out.
Do you watch porn?
Sometimes.
If you don't watch porn, what kind of porn? What are the things that you are most likely to type into the search?
Most boring porn sex ever. No, 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 no. I don't know. Just think I'm pretty boring when it comes to it. It's just porn where she's in cowgirl position, facing forward, or I guess in the guy's perspective, reverse cowgirl. Just the way that the muscles and the lines of the body kind of form. It's pretty hot.
You like watching the back or the front of the woman, or
Front,
the front
the
of the
front.
woman?
The guy who's fucking her would be below and would be looking at her back while the camera is looking at the front.
Okay. So if you were in that scenario, would you want it to be reverse, or you'd prefer it her facing you?
I would want her facing me.
Okay.
Because I find like the triangle from like the hip flexors down to the pubic bone, very, very mentally stimulating and attractive.
Do you care if there's hair down there or not?
No, I don't care.
Do you have a preference, or does it matter?
Well, it's a nice surprise when there's the change up, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that Bush is coming back.
Yeah, I'm indifferent. Like, I mean, it's one of those like around the labia if it's shaved like that, but yet it's a full bush up top. It's like, whoa, like you get like both worlds.
I agree with you. That's exactly how I feel about Bush.
Yeah, someone's got to be a trendsetter, right?
Right. You want to have somewhere nice and soft for your face, but you also want to look like you're looking at a woman.
Right. It's like, hey, I take care of myself, and I'm wild and free.
And I'm free. I like that. You grew up in Chicago.
Yes.
Did you get pierced before you were a piercer, or like did you get tattoos, or what was your entrance into this land? What was your family like?
I used to do. We won't go into the family piece, but I used to be a self-soother back in my teenage years. Most people call it self-harm. I don't see it as that. I think there's something about either cutting or scratching or.
I used
like
to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Like giant pieces.
What is that? Trichotillomania?
I don't know.
But finding some kind of relief or comfort of your skin. So I used to, this is so horrible. I used to take my dad's soldering iron and heat it up, get it hot enough, and bring it to my flesh, and make little marks on my body with it. And then eventually, I got really good at it and started etching designs into my skin as a teenager. And then, of course, right away, the earliest I could, started getting piercings. Got my first tattoo also when I was 18. And again, because of doing all the different tattoo conventions and traveling, got to meet a lot of world-renowned tattoo artists. And little by little, my body has been getting covered with tattoos. I do have some body modifications and a whole series of piercings as well. I plan on continuing to get more tattoos, but yet still look very approachable and non-threatening. And also look normal in a long sleeve shirt and some pants. You wouldn't realize.
So after being a child and using harm to make yourself feel better.
Self-soothing.
Sorry.
It's a different way of thinking about it. I mean, because when you're the one looking at it, it's like, why are you harming yourself? But when you're the one doing it, it's like, I need this relief. And if more people would see it, it's like, well, why does this person need this relief? That's how you can help someone, is understanding that piece versus shaming it to you're harming yourself. Those younger adults or teenagers that are doing it, that may end up being tattooing would be the route to go instead of the scars as well.
What do you think helped get you out of that phase? Do you think it was moving into the next phase of piercing and tattoos?
Of life?
Yeah, of of learning how to deal with your issues in a different way.
A lot of self-discovery came after that portion of my life, and got to pursue my art, got to pursue my performing, and got to find a voice for myself and do the things I want to be doing. It's not about what success I'm going to have in the future or what things are going to look like in the future. It's like, well, I want to be able to do these things that make me happy. And will these things continue to make me happy? And if so, go on that path and route and push it.
Do you have piercings in your penis?
Yes.
How many?
5.
Whoa. Can you tell us all what that looks like?
No, I'm going to leave that up to everyone's mystery.
You're very interesting.
Thanks.
when you are doing this art to people, you are in a dominant position with them. Do you also enjoy that position
Um,
sexually?
I enjoy the dominant role sexually, but between like sex and kink is pretty like separated for me. Also, when it comes to needles and needle play, I have this boundary of I'm doing needles on you. We're not going to be a sexual partner in the sense of any kind of like penetrative sex or oral or anything like that, because I want you to live off of this connection that we get to have, this intimacy that's created through the needle experience. Not looking to complicate things, but at the same time too, there's something very is so intense that let that be the reason why we would be, a play partner in that sense, instead of taking
Right.
it to a different kind of level or state.
So when you have a girlfriend, it doesn't have anything to do with that at all.
Now that's been broken a couple times, but and it was one of those things like, whoa, this is not right. Like,
But wait, did
completely
it go
like,
from girlfriend into this, or it went from the needle play into girlfriend? Because I feel like if it
that
went girlfriend into needle play, then that's one thing.
I have gone that way in that route, and that part like the girlfriend to needles, and that I think the reason she went into it was more along the lines of I want to try to experience what these other people are talking about and that connection that I have with them. So that curiosity of I want to try this because I want to feel what they're feeling from you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
When the reality is, she wasn't into needles. And so right there is already like, well, this is going to be already tainted because you're not coming here with the mentality of I want to do this to have this experience. It was more of I want to kind of figure this out as to why. And so it's like it's consenting in a different kind of way.
Right.
And then
Did it make the relationship weird after that then?
it made her watching or seeing other kinds of sessions with other people happen feel weird, because it's like, well, I didn't feel that. Why are they feeling like this? But it's, again, like not going in it for the right reason. And then, no, I've had it where it went from, and which was really, it was one of those things like it was breaking my rule of like, went from wanting to explore and try needles to becoming a partner together. And like what we do now is like anytime I do a needle piece on her, we go our separate ways after we're done with the piece, just so that there's time for her to process and figure things out, and for me to process and clear my mind from it as well. And so they're like trying to create some space within the relationship afterwards of doing something like that, of how intense it can be and feel.
Yeah, I can see how that's complicated because even just having someone like slap you or hold your neck for a second, trying stuff like that in a submissive place, it gives you this really weird trust and, in somebody else. So to be lying there for like 4 hours and just letting somebody like touch you and allow them to do that and to give them your entire trust, I'm sure makes them feel really close and want to be closer.
Yeah, and like just heightened sensitivity and awareness. And of course, you got all this endorphins going through your body too, rushing. So already you're feeling really floaty and high.
Yeah.
And so of course there's that chance of, wow, I may say yes to something because I'm feeling floaty when they may not necessarily in a normal mental state of being would say something.
Right.
And that's kind of like why I have that line drawn for it, is to protect doing the needles as one separate thing.
Like under the influence. Under.
Yeah. But it's under the influence of endorphins.
Yeah.
And because you can't think clearly. And again, that goes back to the basics of with involvement of kink, where it's like consent and practicing, understanding your risk profile and your boundaries and consenting to what specifically. And so like before those endorphins are kicking in, even though you may be experiencing some anxiety because of the anticipation of what's to come, but at least you're able to think a lot clearer, and there's no mid-scene negotiating or mid-creating a piece, negotiating on what we're going to do or how it's going to turn out or how long or anything like that.
You mentioned starting to get introduced into the kink world when you were in high school.
Right.
What did that introduction look like?
Just exploring exploring sexuality, exploring like sensual play and touch, and that it's not just all about the sex piece. That there's a lot of, I guess, at the time, it's like, oh, this is foreplay, being grabbed and held, or being blindfolded and caressed and mentally stimulated or physically stimulated without being able to reciprocate play or advice or give it. Was one of those like, oh, to me, it's like, oh, that's what foreplay is.
Were you the one blindfolding people when you were young, or were these things happening to you as you were discovering them, or you were in a relationship or place where you got to do it and kind of figure it out on your own?
No, this is kind of both.
Both.
Yeah, I think, but it was more so me doing it to others. You're paying too much attention to the person watching you, and like, I don't know, like all that direct eye contact. You start to wonder or think about what they're thinking, wonder what they're thinking, versus I want to kind of explore something. So there's that whole like, oh, I'm gonna do this something a little different, but you're looking right at me and you're not saying anything, so I'm not sure what you're saying or what I should do or whatever. Like that whole nervousness of stop looking at me kind of thing. Let me do this and let me see how your body responds to it. Is kind of what got me kind of into or introduced to. Okay, well, let me just blindfold you and let me see how your body responds.
And then people responded very lovely, and you wanted to keep trying it.
Yeah, foreplay.
So what kind of, I don't even know how to ask this, what kind of kink are you into?
I don't know. I think my kink, in terms of like what I do artistically, to a lot of people is usually like their hard limits or considered taboo within the kink scene. But yet, in terms of what I like to do with my partners, would be grabs and hold, biting, scratching, applying pressure. But I don't know. That's in terms of what people see of my work.
No, I just want to know about you.
Would think, yeah, but they would think like, oh, he'd be into all these other like more intense things. Where it's like, well, actually, I'm not really. It's more about like, anything like connective energy play, or scratching, grabbing, biting.
Yeah, you had said that you keep a lot of the kink and the sex separate.
Right.
So you don't always like combine them into each other. But if
Right.
you do you feel like you're dominant in sex and you're the one giving those things, or that it's like a mutual, just kind of like an aggressive, playful energy
No,
exchange?
no. Typically, I think I'm more dominant in terms of that type of play. But there's always like, if you find that one person, or that it opens you up to a new experience where you want to switch or bottom for, or I want to try something, but I don't know how to really do it, so I might as well learn to bottom for it first before topping for it, which is the end goal is that I want to top this, but want to understand it from the bottom perspective too is important. I see myself more so in terms of play, energy-based play, sexual play, more of a dom and top.
Do you have a Dom story that you'd like to share, or is it like just kind of playful?
No, yeah, no, a lot of it's playful, but I had a live-in girlfriend before. She liked to be told and controlled, and on like days off of work, we would do like long play sessions, but I would still be at work. The morning would start off with me leaving for work, but yet she would have an ankle chained to an object in the house. And so like she was given chores and tasks to do throughout the day to accomplish and get done while having to still move around, but with a chain on the leg. Just fun kind of like exploring. I don't know, just fun play to come home to and unlock the chain or her foot and see what she got done and be shown around. Like a lot of like the domestic servitude kind of things.
Would she be going like absolutely crazy by the time you got home?
Well, she's one that she was one that liked to be out all the time. She would be very limited to where she was able to go to and have to work within like outstretching, I don't know, and trying to figure out how can I, finish like sweeping the floor if I can't reach all the way to the end of the room, or put certain things within like knowing that it's out of reach, how she would have to figure it out, things to that extent.
Would she be naked all day?
She would be given like different lists and tasks, and so like dinner would be cooked,
I said, would she
and
be naked all day?
it would depend on what the task would be for the
Oh,
day.
okay.
Yeah, and
So,
so like I mean, there's many dinners, her just in an apron or in lingerie when I'd be coming home, which was fun. Another fun kind of intense session or scene or whatever you want to call it was this building that I was living in at the time had this creepy basement that no one ever used, and so it was like more of a storage area than anything. It had access to like a water spigot, and it had a drain in the floor. It was all concrete, and it was pitched, and there's no windows. So brought a partner down there before, chained her to the pole, blindfolded, and of course, like I put some gloves on so she wouldn't know the direct feeling of my touch. Fondled and caressed her body, and just put her in different kinds of positions that were kind of uncomfortable for long periods of time, and was asking for compliance from her, basically telling her how to stand and the way to stand or move based upon still being tied to this pole or chained up to this pole. And when she couldn't do what was being asked of her, she was hosed down while blindfolded and naked. And of course, cold in a dark, creepy basement. And that was like long, like a couple hours worth of play like that.
but you didn't get to, did you get to have sex at all or just like at the very end of it? Or is it whatever you wanted
No,
because you were in charge? Or it had nothing to do with that?
no, I try to keep sex out of it, even if it's a partner, separating sex and kink or sex and play, just because of understanding where the lines are drawn and not mid-scene negotiating.
But what if
Um,
they do a really good job? They should they get some cock? You know, like
I'll
I feel like that's just punishment and not what do they get when they're doing well and they're on
Right.
the
I
pole.
mean, there's certain people that use kink as means to get to sexual play. That's just not the way that I've played personally. It's exploring these other things, these other ideas or fantasies or desires, and exploring that, knowing what the end outcome is going to be. And it's not like, oh, it's not going to be something where it's like sexualized or in specifically pertaining to sex. That it's going to be all about this sensual or intense energy play or experience versus knowing that, well, afterwards you're just going to get, like fucked. So,
Is it kind of more of you like dealing more in the subconscious and figuring things out that
yeah,
comes from maybe a sexual place but doesn't have to do with sex?
right.
And if you
Yeah,
bring sex into that space, it doesn't allow for this discovery to fully happen on if and why they want that scenario because it ends up getting fulfilled in that way. Whereas if you don't
right.
fulfill it in a sexual way, you can actually explore where that comes from and why
Even
you have it.
further. Yeah, and even further, and like even like work out minute details to where it becomes complete sensorial, involving all of them. Even just, I mean, if you would talk to her about being in that room, being hosed down, the dampness that you'd feel, not just the cold of the water, but the dampness and the smell of an old dark basement that doesn't have windows. It just has that mustiness to it, and that's part of it. You're establishing and controlling the entire environment to make it successful, is important. Not okay, well, it's going to end to sex. It doesn't have to. And just that being able to then now recall that kind of scene and go back to, oh my gosh, I remember walking down there and what it smelled like, the sounds I heard, the floors creaking above, like the smell of the room, I haven't even done it's like I haven't done anything, and it's the experience of the environment that's taking over. Now, if she would smell something similar to it, it may trigger that response of, oh my gosh, it reminds me of this time that we did this scene. And so then it starts associating other things with it.
The scenarios that you have described, are you kind of doing something to help somebody else figure out or to explore somebody else's desires?
I think there's a lot of conversation that goes into it prior, and also like the willingness to be like, okay, well, I'm down to explore that, or like to like for me, like, oh, that's different, that's new. Yeah, I'd be willing to explore that, in a safe and risk-aware fashion, because the end outcome, you understand what the end outcome is going to be, and you kind of know where you want to begin. That middle portion is where it's gray, and that's the part that takes the time to process and figure out what we're going to do. And during that portion is where the discovery might happen, or the fascination of, or like understanding of why they may be interested, or why I may be wanting or open to explore that.
Right.
And of course, it's all situational based on with whom.
Right. There isn't a part of you that just wants to take somebody down into a basement and hose them whenever you want. That was like a combined scenario that you discovered with somebody else that you guys wanted to figure out.
Yeah.
What did you figure out about yourself from that scenario?
The understanding of, if I take my gloves off and touch you with my bare hands, it's me being there for you to comfort, and that no harm's going to come to you, or it's me checking in, and it's not this persona or character, or I don't know, character of the scene that we're doing coming to do something to you or to trick you or anything. It's knowing that, hey, this is me genuinely checking in by my bare hand making contact with them.
So it's kind of a little bit of a discovery of the intensity and like what your actual touch offers and means to you and to a partner.
Yeah. And of course, and usually that first contact, the chills race through the person and race through me. And so it's like that intense, like, whoa, that just happened. You can't control that. And,
right.
And to me, I find that really fascinating.
Do you think you enjoy being a dom or being dominant as part of a subconscious part of yourself, or do you think it's just a sexual part?
Well, if it's going along with like the art that I'm making, it's more of facilitating and guiding, and that versus I'm trying to control. I think in terms of like other type of kink and play, I think it is more along the lines of being able to be very well aware of what's to come and have complete control over it.
You like to be aware of you're not comfortable in the of not knowing what's next.
Right. And so it's like, well, I can plan this all out and figure this all out, and you're going to be able to get what you're looking for out of it, and I'll have that awareness, create ease for myself, or mentally ease, and then get enjoyment from be able to be present, because I'm not thinking about, oh, what's next, or what's the unknown going to come out or happen out of it.
What's your favorite food?
I can tell you what not. No, I don't like pizza.
You don't like pizza?
I don't.
What's wrong with pizza?
Never been a big fan of it. I mean, I love to cook stir fry. I can stir fry just about anything and everything and be completely okay with it.
Do you have a nice pot, a stir fry pot?
Yeah, I cook it all on a wok.
Okay.
Usually I'll just do a big giant vegetable stir fry. Yeah, I guess stir fry.
Stir fry. So I'm trying to imagine, a perfect lady for you. You would cook some stir fry for them. You'd hang out, you'd snuggle up, watch some Netflix, and then she'd just ride you.
Facing me, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a whole show. You just want to have dinner with a nice girl, cuddle up, and then have a pretty girl on top of you.
Don't make eye contact.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
You're like, it's so close to being normal, and then you're like, except never look at me.
Yeah, it's like, that's it, we're done.
I was just turning you into a normal man, and then there you go.
You're cut off now.
Man, at least you cook, though.
Oh, I love to cook. I also find it very enjoyable to cook with a partner. That's a lot of fun. Because cooking can't be a normal activity. It's one of those things where, oh, here, wear this apron, only this apron. And, oh, I've got a big knife in my hand. Oh, let me check how sharp it is. As I'm running the tip along your body. Oh, I'll cut this carrot up with this. No big deal.
I can't even talk to you about cooking without it being exciting, much less actually cook with you.
Where it just becomes like, there's a lot of like goofy, fun play of these little teasing or titillating experiences. And then it's like, okay, and all right, it's time to eat.
Yeah. And then that's like a whole kink thing. It doesn't end with sex.
Right. It's like, well,
Like, sorry, that was actually a kink cooking, and you don't
yeah,
get sex after.
but it's very rewarding. You get fed.
You do get
It's
fed.
fulfilling.
And then
Yeah.
you eat too much, and then you don't want sex.
No, and then the sex happens, and then like, oh, thank
But
you
if
so
I
much.
ate too much, it would be like, no, you're on top. I am not moving. Don't feed me too much before sex. I always think it's a great idea to have sex before the date sometimes.
Well, you have to open the door and let them in first
Yeah.
before the date.
Yes. But I feel like I guess there is both sides available that are sexy and fun, but one side is you're waiting all night wondering if it's going to happen but I feel like when you're in a newer relationship, you're not really getting to know the person because you know they're just trying to impress you and like they're getting excited for the sex part. But if you do the sex part first, then you really get to know what they're like.
Oh, so then they drop their guards down.
Yeah,
You
then
get
it's
to,
like, okay, well, this is what it really would be like if we were having dinner a couple months down the road or something.
uh,
Because then I guess it's the opposite of the foreplay of trying to figure out who they actually are a little sooner.
true, but then there's also that whole thing about tension.
I know I've been going about it all wrong. Let's have sex first. No wonder I'm still single.
So, well, that sex is great and all, but who's gonna cook dinner now?
Right. How long does it take to be in a relationship with you for the honeymoon period to kind of start to fade away? Or does it
I am.
ever?
You'd be asking the wrong person because, like,
It sounds like never.
no, I don't know. I mean that would be everyone's different perspective. I don't know.
Right.
I couldn't even know how to answer that one.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just like pretending in my head that it'd be perfect
I
forever.
feel I do.
If there's a bucket list situation that you got to do one last thing sexually before you died, what would it be?
Right before I die,
No, like, well, if you're gonna die tomorrow and you're like,
what is
man,
the last sexual thing? Would actually be the thing that I've been the most afraid of trying is to do a hook suspension and have sex while hanging in hooks.
you would be
talk
hanging
about-
in the hooks.
Yes, and talk about like you're already in that euphoria, crazy head rush as it is, and then your body's so hyper in tuned and so sensitive to everything that I like then incorporate that into it. It's like you can't top that. The amount of endorphins and chemicals firing from your brain at that point, it's just so much to process. It's also the thing where I'm like the most afraid of trying because with fear of sex or normal sex will never be the same anymore.
Oh,
Think about it in terms of being on like ecstasy and in this complete state of bliss and then having sex while on it. That euphoric.
have you ever got a hand job while suspended?
I won't. There's been offers of this, and I won't.
You won't do it.
I won't do it. That's my hard limit because it's one of those like I am so afraid of that everything's going to be so intense, amazing because of that rush and that high
Yeah.
that everything else like it's like how do you top it?
Yeah, but there's also this. People always say I don't have sex on ecstasy because, well, back in our age it was ecstasy, because then I might never want to have sex again without it. Well, I had sex on ecstasy and it was fucking awesome, but now I have sex without it.
No,
It's
true.
not
But
a
also,
big deal.
you also have to think of it too of I have to pull together my team to facilitate this too. So like it's not just like, hey, I can just randomly I'm gonna put some hooks in and have sex while hanging the hook. Like there's a lot of planning that has to go in on this too. And like the whole idea
who's
of like
the lucky girl
so,
gonna be
so we're gonna
someday?
have sex and there's gonna be people here that has to watch because for our safety while hanging, they've got to be there.
That's
like,
a whole
there's a
nother
lot-
fetish.
It's its own entity
This
right there.
is
Like,
really hot. I didn't even know this was an option of things.
it is.
to-
It is a thing. There are people that do it. It's amazing to watch and see, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, I think I need to draw the line on that one.
I understand, but also, okay, say you love ice cream, right? And you just like love it. Then all of a sudden you're lactose intolerant as you get older and like, fuck, I can't eat ice cream anymore. But like, you're okay. But you're glad you at least ever had it.
Right. So when when the doctor tells me, hey, you're gonna die tomorrow, be like, sweet, everyone, come on over. We're hanging me by hooks
I'm
and
just
having
saying,
sex.
if you wait until you're like 80 and realize that you're not dead yet, you might not be able to handle that. And then that situation really will kill you. You know what? Maybe if you ever get married, that could be like your honeymoon.
I have. Oh, that's nice. But I have helped a couple's first dance was both of them suspending in the air, swinging together.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to you getting fucked while suspended. I want to know what position you would be hanging in.
Oh man.
Because like if you're flat, like she'd have to be like really skinny to be on top of you. Unless she's standing on a table.
I was thinking in terms of like a hammock position where it's hooks in the knees and hooks in the back, straddled on top of me.
Hooks in your knees?
Yeah.
And hooks in your back?
Yep. So it creates, like a hammock shape, like a banana kind of shape.
But your head is facing the sky?
Yes.
Okay.
Facing up.
Okay. But then she would have to be really light, is what I'm saying for that.
I have lifted people while hanging in hooks and swinging in them. So it would be very intense.
So it could hold you both.
That's all part of it,
Right. So you would just have stuff in you that's strong enough to hold the weight of whatever you and the other person were.
Well, all of the equipment is strong enough. It's a matter of being able to, one, get hard, and you're already a floaty state of being, and then to have another body mass on top of you, so you're adding more weight on you, causing another adrenaline rush and endorphin kick already there, and there hasn't even been sex yet. So there's already you've ramped up the rush or the high from the experience prior to even having sex, and then add that on top of it, plus the bouncing and moving. Right. Every movement, every adjustment creates that in like endorphin rush as it's happening.
So I really think you should do it because one more thing.
For the visual, right,
For the
right.
visual, but also because it's going to be so hard to repeat it. Like just getting it done once is hard enough. I don't think you have to be worried about if I do it once, I might not be able to do it any other way. It's no, I only have once to do this, or else my team is going to think I'm fucking disgusting. But what if you couldn't get the heart on? That would be so embarrassing.
It would be.
You've hired all these people. They're already uncomfortable. And then they're like, come on, man.
We're here for you. Come on. You can do it. Holding banners. Wait, no, they need to be holding the line to keep us up in the air.
Okay, so that was a really fun question. I didn't even know that was the thing. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. We totally have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for getting a hold of me.
You've totally been the best. Bye. If you're sexy and you know it, clap your hands. Tom claps hands. That's where Tom would clap his hands because he's sexy and super cool. And I'm really lucky that I got to talk to him. Please check out his art. Check him out on Instagram, Carnival of Curiosity. Artist Tom Hill. He's amazing. So cool. Think I could handle being in a needle piece, but I'm not really sure. I think it's best probably that I don't try it because I'm such a little squirmy worm. But who knows? Maybe I could try it. Anyway. It might not ever happen. He's on the other side of the country as me. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget 10% of any profits made from Interesting Sex goes to help stop sex and human trafficking. We are very lucky to get to have sex with and who and how we want. Let's appreciate and be thankful for what we have, but let's also give back to those who don't. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review us, as well as go to InterestingSexPodcast.com to check out any sexy goodies that we have going on. We have a flogger that's made by Maximus Leatherworks that is made just for you guys. It's a one-of-a-kind that he has created, the colors and the flogger, for any beginner sexers or advanced players who want to have fun and support the show and our guests. If you have any questions for me or any of our guests, please let us know. Do you think you fuck really great? You have an interesting story for me? InterestingSexPodcast.com. Let me know what's going on. Find me on Twitter. Find me on Instagram. I can't wait to see you guys next week to see what the pussy drags in. Thanks to the band 41 for making this awesome jam.
Well, it's a doobity-doo. Yes, it's a doobity-doo. Well, it's a doobity-doo. Yes, it's a doobity-doo. I mean a doobie-doobie-doobie-doobie-doobie-doo.